you too.
Yeah. So we're going on a pedal boat?
Yeah?
Are you okay with
That was not a joke.
Yeah. Oh, it's a joke. It's not a joke.
It started as a joke, actually.
Finally.
Welcome to Cross Paths, the podcast of the UTMB World Series. Every month, 2 runners, 1 elite, and 1 amateur come together to discuss trail running and much more. They share their passions, inspirations, and get to know each other better. Today, New Zealand elite runner Ruth Croft, winner of the Western States, CCC, and 2-time OCC champion, meets Camille Olianti, a passionate French runner and DJ. On a pedal boat in the middle of Annecy's lake, they talk about how they came to trail running and share about discipline and mental preparation. We hope you'll enjoy this moment where their paths crossed.
Okay, so I think we are now ready to start having a conversation, getting to know each other.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, I'll just start with your description, Ruth. So, Ruth, you were born in New Zealand 35 years ago. You grew up in Stillwater, a remote village on the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. As a child, you played tennis and basketball, but it was running that caught your attention, particularly cross-country running in the challenging conditions of the region. That's how you had the opportunity to run with Eddie Gray, third at the 1971 World Championships, whose simple lifestyle you admired and who became your mentor. Your first sporting successes came while you were a student, representing New Zealand at the 2006 World Athletic Championships and the 2005 and 2007 World Mountain Running Championships. You left your country when the American University of Portland offered you a scholarship, but the university racing system didn't suit you, and you were frequently injured. You left the United States and settled in Taiwan for 5 years, where you worked for Garmin. There you rediscovered the joy of running, although it was no longer your main goal. And in 2015, you came second at the Tarawera 100K and traveled to Europe, where you won the CCC. Now a professional runner, you split your time between Europe and New Zealand. In recent years, while studying for a degree in naturopathy, you've achieved some impressive results. You won the OCC in 2019, the Festival des Templiers in 2021, the Western States in 2022, the Cape Town Ultra Trail in 2023, the Tarawera Ultra Trail by UTMB, and the 73K format of the Transvolcania in 2024. Does this short summary seem right to you at this stage?
Yeah, I think you've summed up my life
Wow.
in a paragraph pretty well. Yeah.
You've come with an object that's particularly close to your heart today. Can you tell us what it is and what it means to you?
Yeah, so I brought a bracelet with me that is got a Pounamu stone on it, if you can see it there.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the South Island in Māori is called Te Waipounamu, and that means the waters of Pounamu. And to the Māori people, Pounamu was like a sacred treasure, and it was also used as a weapon, and it was traded a lot. And where I grew up, on the west coast of the South Island, as a place where the majority of Pounamu is actually found. And so, yeah, it's a special stone that reminds me of home.
Wow, incredible. Do you run with it?
Yeah, I always wear it.
You do?
Yeah,
Wow.
never comes off.
So cool.
Yeah. Okay, and so now I'm going to introduce you, Camille. Camille, you're 34 years old. You come from Chamonix, where your father is a mountain guide. You've been skiing since you were 2 years old and competed at a high level in France. You've had the opportunity to race in slalom and giant slalom for France for a full year in the United States and Canada, as well as free ride at a competition in New Zealand. You also climb, surf, and kite surf. You lived in your mother's native country, South Africa, for 8 years, where you worked as a geology and geochemistry scientist. It was there that you met your future husband, Andre Hugo, who completed the UTMB in under 30 hours and who ultimately introduced you to trail running. You quickly demonstrated your excellent stamina and set off in the 114 kilometre, 6,500 metre elevation gain of the Trail de Bourbon of La Réunion, which you finished in 7th place among women. You also ran the 55 kilometre Marlow Mountain Challenge, the 65 kilometre Ultra Trail Cape Town, the Cape Town Marathon, and the 101 CCC Route Solo. In life, you have an artistic soul. You paint, sing, play the electric guitar, the piano, and the harmonica. 5 years ago, you started DJing in South Africa and formed the DJ duo Criticala. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. With your husband. Your stamina lets you play long sets at music festivals and at trail running events. You moved back to Chamonix last year and completed your French ski instructor diploma. You've got a boat going past. It's like times like this, we're like, maybe this wasn't the best idea. Seemed like a cool idea at the beginning. Anyway, do you have anything to add to this quick introduction?
Yeah, I think that's an incredible wrap-up. Thank you.
And you also brought an object with you. What is it?
I did. So it's in this little box. And I have actually 2 objects. I must say I've got one for you and I've got one that I carry with me. But you can open this and...
oh, wow. Is it a shell?
It's
a tooth?
It's a tiny tooth of my puppy Magic.
Of your what?
My little dog Magic. He gave it to me in my hand once. So I was like, wow, that's pretty special. It feels like I'm a fairy.
Oh, that's awesome. How old is your puppy?
Yeah, he's 2 years old. So when he was super small, he gave it to me. And I just feel it's one of my greatest treasures, you know. I keep it with me.
Yeah.
And here I have one for you. So this is a gift. I received once a USB and I thought that would be really special for you to get. So I put 10 heart opening tracks onto this USB and maybe one day you'll want to come and DJ and you just need to plug it into a controller and there you go. You've got 10 tracks to go and you can add on from there. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's a treasure for you.
Thank you.
I thought I'd share the magic because I really enjoy the music and I feel it's a special place to share with people.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure.
Awesome.
Okay, I'll start and I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, Ruth. So Ruth, would you say that the environment in which you grew up contributed to your involvement in sports? And did your parents encourage you in any particular direction growing up?
So where I grew up, it's the largest region in landmass in New Zealand, but the least populated. So to give you an idea, from like the top of it to the bottom, it's over 600 kilometres, but only 36,000 people live there. It's quite remote, but also the people there are known as being kind of pretty tough and rugged because we are quite isolated from the rest of New Zealand. But I think growing up there, I was fortunate as I was introduced to so much sport. So I did basketball and tennis and netball and squash and touch. And my parents also, they were very encouraging the whole time. They never pushed me in any direction at all. But when I was in high school and wanted to just do running, they really wanted me to do team sports because they thought it was really important to learn, like to play in a team. And they also really instilled in me like hard work. Like I remember when I started like doing track and cross country, I used to, because we didn't have a synthetic track where I grew up. And so when I raced over in the city, I would race on a synthetic track in bare feet.
Okay.
And my coach told my parents that they should get me a pair of spikes. And my parents were like, no, we're not going to get her a pair of spikes until she commits, like until I'd been training for a couple of years. So they very much instilled that kind of hard work ethic into me.
Wow. And what interests do you have in competition? Is it something that goes in hand with your objective of developing your skills on the trails?
So I think at the beginning, when I first got into running, I was very motivated by competition. And I think it kind of, in a way, stemmed from like a lack of self-worth. And so winning and doing well in races kind of validated that I was good enough, I think.
Yeah.
And then as I've gotten older, like I'm still motivated by competition, but just in a different way. It's not tied in with my self-worth. I just love the process of training and then race day, like bringing it all together and dealing with whatever comes up on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
So Camille, you've played a number of sports since you were a child. Do you come from a sporting family? Well, I think you do. Yeah, in the introduction.
Yeah, so I come from Chamonix, and in Chamonix, it's really a hot spot where, it's high energy, lots of athletes there all the time. And growing up, I come from a family where my father is a mountain guide, so it was his profession to guide other athletes, up the peaks and to succeed and bring them back home safely. And so that's my background. Then sports, when I was young, I was put into the ski club, and from the beginning I really enjoyed the community and I straight away got into it. And then I started skiing at the higher and higher level throughout my childhood. And at the same time I was doing a couple other sports, but skiing was really my main sport. And to become a big skier, you have to also do a lot of physical training. So that was a bit my background. The running came later when I was in South Africa.
Yeah.
But the exposure in Chamonix is huge. You see so many athletes that are really, they're meant to be in Chamonix when they come there, and they've got big objectives.
Yeah.
So that's my background, and I think my father's been, that inspiration, because sports is part of our life. It's a lifestyle that we experience.
So would you say he was your biggest mentor growing up, or did you have other people that you really inspired you?
Yeah, definitely one of these legendary mountain guides from Chamonix who gets along with everybody, has good relations with all of them, and he makes sure that everybody's safe all the time. That's his role, He's a mountain guide who looks at safety and makes sure you're healthy, you eat well, you recover well, and then you can do, incredible achievements up in the mountains. And I think today my current inspiration is Michaela Schifrin. She's an American skier, and she's just she's incredible. I'm very inspired from her today. And
is it her results that inspire you, or is it some other part?
It's her energy. I feel the way she is. I feel she's very authentic, very genuine, and definitely, her results. But just the way she skis, I see a bit of myself in her. Just the way she does it, and the way she celebrates, shares her wins with the public. It's very special. And then there's a few that I feel are my current inspirations. In trail running, there's this guy in South Africa. We're actually friends in common with him. He's called Robbie. You know him?
Yeah, I ran with him at Tarawera just in February. He's awesome. He has such a good energy to be around as well.
Incredible. Yeah, he's the only trail runner that I've seen on the dance floor. When we DJ, he's there, he dances, and you see him dance, and you're like, this guy has so much energy. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's great.
And do you have who are your inspirations with running and sports in general?
I have some life inspirations, and one of them is probably my best friend. Growing up where I grew up, there wasn't a lot of people that ran. And so I used to link up with a guy called Eddie Gray, who you mentioned in the intro. Yeah, he got third at the World Cross in 1971. And there was one other guy at the time that was training for 800 metres, and he was one of the best in New Zealand as well, from the same area. And so the three of us used to do our Sunday runs together. And Eddie was very, there's not many people like him today. He lives in, a pretty, a bit of a shack of a house, and didn't own a cell phone, didn't have a car, used to run everywhere, still heats his water by his fire. And when I'm around him, he's just, he's really refreshing. He has a really simple attitude about him, but loves running for the joy of it as well. And then Josh at the time, he's really inspired me a lot after, he was training to try and qualify for the Commonwealth Games in New Zealand, and he got diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. And so had a 5-year battle where he had to go through that, and then he went into remission and then relapsed, and then had to have graft versus he had a stem cell transplant, and then had graft versus host disease, and heart attacks, and also known as a nerve pain in the face, which is known as the worst pain to man. But seeing what he went through for me was, it's helped me have a lot of perspective on life.
Yeah.
And
How do you know him?
he was a runner as well, and so we used to train together. Yeah. And so he can't run anymore, but he got me into like ice baths, and he does a lot of breath work and that. Yeah.
Wow.
And so he's been a big inspiration for me.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
Do you ice bath after races or before?
I don't we'll do it not so much like after races or that, but just like during training or during the week and that. I obviously there's a lot of physical benefits, but I also kind of like the mental approach of it. And just because when you get into an ice bath, obviously you just want to get straight back out. It's really controlling the mind and bringing it back to the breath. And I like that aspect of it. Yeah.
You're incredible. Are there sportsmen and women or people who have inspired you, whom you admire today?
I think like Eddie, who I just touched on before, was my main one. And then I always remember I was doing an ultra in New Zealand called Old Ghost, and it's 85K. And this was like in 2019. And there was a guy called Rob Henderson who finished, and he was 75 years old. And I thought that was amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane. And I just get really inspired by stories like that. And he actually signed up. I was at Tarawera this year, and he was signed up for the miler. So he must have been 80 years old.
Wow.
He had to drop out at 60K. But those sort of thing. And I think there's just so many cool stories that come out of a finish line of an ultra, of people just deciding to do something really hard. And I think for me, it's my job. Like I practice it every day, and it's for other people who they have like a family or a full-time work, and then I've decided, no, I'm going to sign up for this really hard thing. I find that super inspiring. So you discovered your running skills very recently. Do you have any regrets about not starting sooner?
I would say always love, no regrets. Yeah. I think I built a different form of stamina, and it was just a time where, I could explore just my strength in different disciplines. I feel I have no regrets, only gratitude and, lots of gratitude for life and for the opportunities. And I think running will keep on going. It's not something you start and you can end, It just takes different forms in my life, and it might be a new beginning now. Yeah, it's an incredible thing to share with, people around you. You probably meet a lot of your friends all the time when you go on these races.
Yeah, I think especially when I was doing a lot of the shorter races, it was the same people doing all the kind of on the same circuit. And so, you'll definitely run into the same friends, and like most people migrate to Europe in the summer as well. So it's another chance to catch up.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I'll just keep on going, and I want to ask you your approach to the sport. It's evolved over the years. So today you know how to distance yourself from the pro circuit while remaining a great competitor. So how have you managed to strike a balance that suits you? Maybe can you tell us how you reconcile competing at the highest level with your private life?
I don't feel like I've distanced myself from the pro circuits, to be honest. I feel like when we're in Europe, I'm very much in it. Yeah. But I suppose in the off season, geographically, I distance myself being in New Zealand. And I think that time in New Zealand has been really important because when I am in Europe with my partner, it is very, very running centric.
Yeah.
And so when I'm able to go home, I'm able to step out of that and to really... I'm still training just as much, but to do other things that really bring me joy.
And do you realize that you're one of the best runners in this world? That is for me incredible. Actually, I can't believe it. You're incredible. You have actually this track record that any athlete can only dream of. How do you feel about that? Can you feel it in your bones? Do you think about it, or do you just keep on going?
I think it's easy to look at the results from maybe the past kind of 5 years, but it's been a really long journey to get to this point.
Yeah.
I think some people don't realize that. And I started competing when I was 13, so it's over 20 years ago. And it hasn't always been a really smooth path to get to this point.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of ups and downs. And there's also been a time where I walked away from the sport as well, and then dealing with injuries. And so I'm really happy to where I am right now, because I feel like I've got myself to, a healthy place with running and with life as well. But yeah, I think it's always important to not just look at results, because it's not that simple as, oh yeah, that person's got amazing results. Often there's been quite a long journey to get to that point.
Yeah, that's so true, hey?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about these races. How do you choose them? Do you have like favorites you like to go to, or is it like a ranking story? How do you choose your races?
So it's pretty much races that really motivate me. And I also don't like to race too much, especially like milers. I find that they take, personally out of me, they take a lot. So I plan to do one a year, and then I'll just plan some other races around them. I don't race a lot when I'm in New Zealand, because otherwise I find I'm racing like 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I normally target one main race and then like a few other ones that I feel motivated by also. But yeah, like for this year I've done Transvolcania, and I'll do Zugspitz, the 68K I think, and then UTMB will be the main one. What do you think of your mental capacity? Can you rely on it when the physical side of you falters?
Yeah, I feel the mental is, I understand that space very well. Very, very, very well. I've pushed myself through things that I just can't believe, it's possible. And that's given me confidence and trust that I think the mental is these fears, and you can overcome them by believing in yourself and trusting that you will make it, you will survive, you'll get through it. I see that you practice meditation, and I just want to know when and in what context did you start? How does it contribute to your mental preparation for the races?
Yeah, so I went in 2018. I decided to do Vipassana because I was just feeling really stagnant at the time, and I'd had my sister had done it. So Vipassana, you probably know, it's like 10 days of silent meditation where you meditate for 10 hours per day. And yeah, I had a good friend who had also done it. And so it's actually become quite popular. And so there was nowhere I could last minute get into, but there was a place in Sri Lanka that had a centre. And so I went to Sri Lanka and I did Vipassana for the first time. And it was by far the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'd never really been made aware of like how the mind works, but I came out of it. It was very transformative and a lot of clarity. And so every year I go and do a 10-day silent meditation. Yeah.
Oh, incredible.
Didn't do it with plant medicine. I did a darkness retreat, where I sat in darkness for 10 days. And that was,
Okay, what is it called?
It's called Darkness Retreat.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what happens normally in a darkness retreat as well is you have a rise of melatonin, and then you start producing DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Yeah, we naturally produce it in our body when we're shut off from light, and so then you start to have visions after 3 days. Some people don't, but you do as well. But yeah, it's very challenging, but also I find it's important to take time away from life. Like, we're always outside of ourselves, communicating outside, and it's good to at times go back inwards.
So just briefly to touch a little bit the topic of nutrition, I wanted to ask you if you're generally disciplined about it, or do you allow yourself a few little pleasures?
Yes, I used to have like a really unhealthy relationship with food, and it's changed a lot over the years. But my partner and I, we eat pretty healthy, but we also I think food is there to be enjoyed. And so we definitely, enjoy food as it is. And also, I think from studying naturopathy, one of the pillars kind of naturopathy is nutrition. And so I've got a lot more awareness and also knowledge around, like your, not just macronutrients, but also micronutrients. So vitamins, minerals, and that sort of thing. And so I definitely pay a lot more attention and also incorporate some herbal medicine too. Especially because I think with ultra running, like, it's a massive tax on your body, and like especially 100 miles on your adrenals. And so it's like ways that I can support my body in those ways. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I feel when I started running, that's when I started, enjoying eating and realizing that my body will tell me exactly what I need. It's so incredible. Like, when you run hard, you feel what you're lacking in a way.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a bit of time to figure it out, but I think just having a good balance. I follow the feeling, how I feel. I just try to focus on having enough water. I think that's my one, because I can go without water for quite a while, but at the same time, it's good to, just have consistency with it. It's very important to drink water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right in that our body tells us what it needs. Like, I was vegetarian for 7 years when I was living in Taiwan, because I, in a way, didn't trust the meat, and also when I was in the US as well, and I started having dreams about chicken. And so after that, I knew my body was telling me that I needed more protein, and luckily I moved back to New Zealand, and so started eating meat again after that.
It sounds like last year you had something happen to you before the UTMB and you got sick. How do you feel about that? Like, obviously, a lot of things must have gone through your mind, but also I just want to know what you experienced last year.
Yeah, so it was disappointing, but I think there were things that were in my control that I could have changed to prevent getting sick. And so from that came a massive lesson. And it also made me kind of dive into a bit deeper as to why what happened. And so I started working with someone on the emotional side. And so I'm actually really grateful for getting sick, because then it pushed me in this direction. And I feel that now, after working with her for 3 months, I'm in definitely a different place, in a better place. And so, I think obviously with things that go wrong, it really does push you in a direction to make improvements and see why it happened.
Yeah. Do you have a crew that helps you and follows you? So here you made yourself someone just for extra help. And with the food or like nutrition or the training, is it you, or you get a bit of guidance from your mentor?
I'm pretty lucky. I feel like over the years I've got a really good team around me. And so I have a strength and conditioning coach back in New Zealand. I have my running coach, Scott Johnson. And then I was working with a woman called Jin Ong, who's like emotional release therapist. And so I worked with her for 3 months. And then with the nutrition, I have worked with people in the past, but through my studies and kind of, I feel like the knowledge base that I have now, I can kind of do that on my own.
Where are you at with your studies?
So I've got another 2 years after this.
Okay.
Yeah, so just like slowly chipping away at it.
Is it for you, or do you want to...
So it's kind of like probably my exit plan post-running. So I feel like I've got to have something. But also I think I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and I'd really love to work with athletes and specifically females.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guide them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to not make the same mistakes I made. Now we're going to discuss more personal subjects. I suggest you listen to an audio extract that will shed light on an important part of your life. So is that you, DJ?
Yeah. It's actually a song that we made, and we made it for this festival in Chamonix called the Unlimited Chamonix Festival. It's like a electronic music festival that they do up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song was inspired for this festival. So we made it and we DJ'd it couple times. So that's kind of how we work. We like to produce as well.
Yeah.
And then we sing in it. You can add so many
layers. Was that you singing?
Yeah, I'm singing.
Oh, wow, okay. Super talented.
Yeah, thank you. You're super special. In terms of music, what role does music play in your life? Do you listen to it when you're training or before, during a race?
I feel like music played a bigger role when I was living in Portland, because there was a lot of really good live music that came through there. But since being in Portland, like the music scene wasn't that great in Taipei. Yeah, I feel like in New Zealand it's also not that great either, because we're such a small country. But I do enjoy going to festivals and that. I went to one in New Zealand during the summer. What about you?
Yeah, I love to run with music. I really enjoy it. I actually create sets where it gives me energy, or, depending on what I want to do, but often it's for running. So to run and to, listen to music is for me quite an ultimate. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you seem to balance your life with competition. What are your hobbies and interests outside of studying and training?
So when we're in New Zealand, a big hobby of mine is tramping. We call it tramping. It's like hiking with a backpack, pretty much.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I just love that because in New Zealand, if you go into nature, it's very different to Europe, where I feel like in Europe there's always people around and there's cable cars and refuges with like hot apple pie and a beer and that sort of thing. But in New Zealand, we don't have that. And so when you go into nature, it's very much like I could go for a 4-day tramp and just not see anyone.
Wow. Do you go alone or with people?
Sometimes I go alone, and then sometimes I go with my partner or friends and family and that as well.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
And do you hike or do you do that South and North Islands?
So I live in the South Island, so I'm a bit biased. I always say the South Island's better than the North Island. And so mainly we live in Wanaka, and so as you know, Wanaka, there's so much to do around there. And then also on the West Coast as well.
And do you read a bit? You like reading books or watching movies?
Yeah, I like reading books and watching movies. And I just watched a really cool sport documentary actually called Style Bender from Israel Adesanya. He was the world middleweight UFC champion.
Wow.
And he grew up in New Zealand. And it was a bit more about, not just about his fighting, but also about like the emotional side behind it and what he's kind of worked for over the years. And I find that really interesting.
Oh, cool.
What about you?
Well, I feel, I must speak about him because he's so fun. It's this podcaster called Jamie O'Brien.
Yeah.
He does these surf movies and, it's super fun. Like, he's one of these action man. He's the ocean version of I Feel You.
Yeah.
You know, he'll be always chasing bigger and bigger waves. I feel that's the kind of movies I enjoy. Something that's always, gentle. I'm sensitive. I don't like anything too violent. Things that are good for me, where I'll have good dreams and feel good the next day. So I suggest we listen to an audio extract that says a lot about you.
I don't know if it says a lot about me. It's just something I like.
What do I need to win?
2 triple 20s and a bullseye.
Good luck. Rupert, guys have underestimated me my entire life. And for years, I never understood why. It used to really bother me. But then one day, I was driving my little boy to school, and I saw this quote by Walt Whitman. It was painted on the wall there. It said, "Be curious, not judgmental." I like that. So I get back in my car, and I'm driving to work, and all of a sudden, it hits me. All them fellas that used to belittle me, not a single one of them were curious. They thought they had everything all figured out, and so they judged everything, and they judged everyone. And I realized that they're underestimating me. Who I was had nothing to do with it. Because if they were curious, they would ask questions. Questions like, have you played a lot of darts, Ted? Which I would have answered, yes, sir. Every Sunday afternoon at a sports bar with my father from age 10 until I was 16 when he passed away. Barbecue sauce.
So during COVID, my partner and I had to do quarantine hotel for 2 weeks in New Zealand. And so we ended up binge watching Ted Lasso. And I just love that quote because I think it's just a reminder just to stay curious in life, but also with the people around you. Everyone has a story, and it's important to remember that and ask questions and be curious.
Oh, it's beautiful. It made me think about the first track I put on that USB for you.
Ah, really?
It's called Safe, Free, Unjudged by Lavila, and it's so beautiful. It just reminds you to have trust. There's always a story behind, and don't judge. You never know what's going on. It's always the best.
To conclude this more personal chapter, we must each draw a question at random. So you can go first, Camille.
Okay. Like playing cards. Wow, that's a big question. How do you see yourself in 10 years' time? Okay, 10 years' time, well, I must say I've got a couple dreams. Definitely, I'd love to go back into skiing and see where I can get. In 2030, there's Olympics in this whole area. So if I'm not competing, I might be DJing there. That would be a big dream. And enjoying Chamonix. I've got 2 places in the world I really, really am deeply connected to, and I'll always keep on going there. And Chamonix, for me, it's the source. It's where I come from, but it's also, it's the top of the rivers. It's where the river starts. And then it flows and it has an impact down the valley, all the way down to the oceans. And I see myself in Chamonix continuing teaching skiing and DJing and sharing, incredible moments at festivals with all the families and crews I meet there. And I believe also that somewhere I will return to South Africa and stay connected with that west coast of South Africa. If I can be in those 2 places, I will be thriving. Then the people that will be around me will also be in a happy place. And I just wish everybody health, really good health. And I wish everybody a happy heart, a lot of love in their life and good relations. And I wish that for me in 10 years.
Found the right balance.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Okay, so can you pick one of these magic cards? Tell us what you get.
So what is your greatest quality and your worst flaw? My partner would probably say, and I probably would say, I can just get shit done. Like if I have something that needs to be done, I can get it done, but I can also get very obsessive about things. And so it can also be my flaw at the same time, which I'm trying to work on. Is about like knowing when to just like cool it and not be so intense about something.
Well, Ruth, firstly, it's been really an honor getting to know you better. I'm seeing incredible aspects of you, and I believe you only have positivity. Obsession is, I replaced that word by dedication. You're just a very dedicated person. But let's play a game. So I've got these 3 different statements, and I'd like you to guess which one is true. 2 of them will actually be untrue. And we'll see if you can guess that about me.
Okay.
So the first one of my sports is golf, which we haven't talked about today. In particular, I made a hole-in-one on a par 3 course in Chamonix.
Does Chamonix even have a golf course?
It does.
Ah, okay, sorry, you can carry on.
Second statement. So at the Unlimited Chamonix Festival in 2022, I was so intimidated to be mixing right before the famous French DJ, Laurent Garnier. Woo! Here's the big swell coming on here. Oh, this boat. And so I even lost a USB stick with all the tracks of my set. He was kind enough to help me out at the last minute with some of his own tracks, so I had to improvise 100%, which is a great memory. And the third statement is, I usually go swimming in cold rivers and waterfalls with my husband. During a holiday in Corsica, we went swimming and lost the keys to our van, which he had put in his pockets. We had to hitchhike back to the nearest village before we got a tow truck, which was only able to help us 24 hours later.
I think the third one is false. Is it? I mean, I think the third one is... Oh, shit. Okay, sorry. You might have to ruin it. I have to pick one of them is true.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, no, I've got it. The second one is true. Is it?
Almost,
well, the
but
first
not
one.
quite. Yes. It was a hole-in-one.
No
Miracle.
way.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... it's pure luck. I don't know. It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
It actually happened at another festival that there was a mega technical issue.
Yeah.
But it was our friend DJ Snake in South Africa. He took his time, went to get his USB in the car. And then he's like, okay, guys, I've got my stick. He plugs in and we're like, okay, well, let's play all 3 together now. We just did it and it was so fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So, your turn, Ruth. Tell me about your 3 stories.
Okay, so the first one is a few scenes from Lord of the Rings were filmed near the village where I grew up in New Zealand. In fact, I got a summer job working on the filming of the first opus in 2002 during a holiday at my parents' house nearby. It was an unforgettable experience. And then the second one is, My father has a road haulage company, and to be able to work there, I had to get part of my truck license at a young age. I no longer have my truck license, but I still have my forklift license. And then the third one is, thanks to my retirement from the internet, I had to hire someone to look after my social networking accounts. The experience was so beneficial that I haven't had a smartphone for 5 years.
Maybe that's the one. You haven't had a smartphone for 5 years?
I wish. Like, you would have seen my phone.
Then I would believe it's Lord of the Rings. You must be connected to that one.
No, well, some of Lord of the Rings was filmed near where I grew up, but it's not true. The rest of it's not true.
It's statement 2.
Yeah.
Now we come to the questions from the UTMB World Series community received on social media. There is one question from Roy. When will we see you racing Courtney Dauwalter and Katie Scheid?
I don't know. 'Cause I don't know if Katie's doing UTMB this year, and so far I don't think Courtney is as well. So have to wait until the stars align and we're all on the same start line. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you won't be competing with them this year?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I know Katie's doing Western States, but I'm not sure if she will then do UTMB as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see them a lot? Just at races or?
Not really. Like I haven't, our paths actually haven't crossed too often. Yeah.
Then there's a question from Frank. If you had to choose between New Zealand and Europe, where would you settle?
That's an easy question. Definitely New Zealand. Like for me, like I lived overseas for 11 years and then going back to New Zealand was really like probably the same feeling that you have when you're in Chamonix. It just feels like home. And so, yeah, definitely New Zealand.
There's another question from Bjorn, and he wants to know, how do you deal with the media as an athlete?
It's probably something that, at the beginning you're not really taught how to deal with it at all, and then it just comes, I think, with experience. And I'm probably one of the athletes. I don't put myself out there a ton. I'm not massive on social media. That's why I was like really stoked if I didn't have to have a smartphone or anything. But it is part of the parcel, and it's just you learn to deal with it, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah. And there's another question from Sophia. Could you have beaten Courtney at UTMB 2023?
Well, I think part of an ultra is getting to the start line, and you can only compete with those that make it to the start line, and I didn't make it to the start line. So Courtney definitely had everything to give her there. So I couldn't even really think about that, to be honest, but I'd love the opportunity to get to race Courtney because our paths haven't crossed, and
Yeah, every year has a story. That year was her story, and this year it's your story.
We'll hopefully just make it to the start line this year.
Yeah, you will.
That's the initial goal.
You will.
So what races are you taking part in this year?
If I got a wild card, I would probably enter CCC this year.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I know that you probably need to register in advance, but I think that is the small objective. The big objective is definitely UTMB, and I believe that it will come to me when the time is right.
Yeah.
Now I think I'm going to get back into training. I'm looking for my crew a little bit. I do it on my own, but it's either you enter the races and then, you instantly feel mega motivated because people around you are running and you meet inspiring souls that are also interested in the same things.
Yeah.
But I know I'll be at UTMB this year, and I'll either be supporting or I'll be running. We'll see how the universe brings closure to this experience for me.
To be there in some capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Looks like we need to get this paddle boat. We're like halfway in the middle of the lake right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Get it back to land.
And that's it for today. We hope you had a great time and that you're feeling inspired to go out for a run. If so, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share this episode with your friends, colleagues, or trail partners. Subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. We'll see you next month for another encounter.
That's so far out.
Yeah, we went so far.